Hi guys! Welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new legal advice content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
First one is titled, Kentucky. Woman claiming to own our property gave us a handwritten eviction notice. To preface this, my dad was gifted the house and property that we currently live on by his mother in 1991. It's right below where her house used to sit. She died in 2006 and a woman and her husband bought her house in 2010 and claimed they bought our property as well. My dad informed her that he had owned the property since 1991 and had proof, then took her to court. In court, she did not hire a lawyer and tried to represent herself. The judge told her that she couldn't claim rights to our house because she didn't buy it or own it. Earlier today, she left a handwritten note on our door that said, "I have a buyer for this property and you have 30 days to evict the premises. We're speaking to our lawyer tomorrow, but I'm very stressed about it right now and I'm wondering if she has any chance of being able to evict us. Thanks for any responses." Edit. I made a few calls this morning to some local offices. It is for sure that we own the home on the land, but there's no document of who owns the property. The lady I spoke to said there was a deed and then just wasn't, so we're going to a deed office today to clear it up. Edit 2. Here is the letter. Mrs., my mom's name, I, crazy neighbor, owner of the property, is getting you 30 days to evict the premises. We are in the process of selling the property and already have a buyer. Edit 3. We spoke to some people this morning and apparently it's still very muddy what happened. As far as we can tell, there was a mix-up somewhere between my father receiving the deed from his mother and the crazy neighbor buying the property above us. At this point, it seems the best option is to lawyer up. Update. So a few days ago, I made a post on here asking for some advice relating to a woman trying to say she owns my property and attempting to evict us. We have everything figured out now, so I figured I'd post a small update. Crazy lady has not come back to our house or contacted us in any way. We spoke to city and county officials and have gotten proof of ownership of our property, including the fact that we paid our ducking property tax today and are beginning to take steps to get a restraining order on the crazy lady. Thanks for everyone's advice and jokes that really helped when I was stressing out. You're Toronto. Landlord let cleaners into my condo without consent. $1,700 worth of property stolen. So I just moved from one rental condo to another here in Toronto. I have the original condo until March 31st. Since I had both units for a whole month, I had left some things behind to move over at my leisure. Earlier this week, my property manager confirmed with me he would be doing his inspection on March 31st, tomorrow. I agreed and told him I would go leave the keys at the concierge for him to pick up on the 30th, and that I had a few items there I was still dealing with. Today is the 30th and I went to collect the last of my belongings and drop off the keys. They are gone, and there are a bunch of cleaning supplies there. No cleaning has been done. I called the property manager and asked where my stuff is and why is there cleaning stuff in the condo. I did not give consent for anybody to enter prior to the 31st. He says he will call the cleaners and call back. He calls back 15 minutes later and says there was a scheduling error on the cleaner's part. They accidentally thought your items were garbage and threw them away. Naturally, I lost my crap. He kept putting it on the cleaners, and I insisted he was at fault for providing access to my condo without consent to a person who stole from me. He facilitated theft in my opinion. Anyway, it is an actual property management company, and not just one person. I don't at all trust them to repay me the $1,700 for my stolen items. I sent them a list, and he said he would review it with their team tomorrow morning and respond immediately. I'm going to call the tenant board in the morning, and I'm not sure if I should file a police report tonight or wait and see what happens tomorrow. Advise on that would be good. But I'm mostly looking for someone to tell me what I can expect if they don't reimburse me. Do I take them as small claims? Take the cleaners to small claims? Both? Do I stand any chance of getting the full amount through this process? Thanks for any help. Edit. Police report has been filed. They have to assign a detective to it before anything happens on their end. They told me to follow up tomorrow and indicated they may assist in obtaining security footage if necessary. I'm not expecting much out of the police, as it has been indicated by posters here that this is a civil dispute. I contacted the cleaning company to find out what time they were there and get his version of events. He apologized, admitted fault in misunderstanding the schedule, and confirmed that he threw every item down the garbage chute. Now, I am definitely going to try to obtain the elevator security camera footage to see if that is true or not. I filed a T2 form this morning, 3rd of 1st, with the tenant board indicating an unlawful entry. Explained everything with dates and times. There is a section where you propose recourse, one of which is reimbursement for lost or damaged property. I listed each item as detailed as possible with values. They will schedule a hearing in 3 to 6 weeks. I can cancel this if the property manager settles with me before then. Property manager is having a meeting with their team this morning to discuss my list of stolen property. They are to respond by 12:00 p.m. today, 3rd of 1st. I told him if I don't hear from him, I got a call back from the PM after their meeting. They discussed with the cleaner, and the cleaner concedes it was his fault and is willing to pay. They said he doesn't make a lot of money and asked if I would accept a reduced amount. I told him the number I gave is what it will cost me to replace those items, and I expect the full amount. The cleaning company should have insurance, and I'm not made of money either. The property manager, I assume, discussed with their legal counsel during the meeting. They are insistent they have zero fault in this situation, as they have a work order with the cleaner for March 31st. I argued that I never agreed for anybody to enter on the 30th, and they facilitated the unlawful entry by handing over the keys. They want to work with me as a middleman to settle with the cleaner. I told them if he agrees to pay in full, that's fine. If not, I'm proceeding with my T2 claim against them with the tenant board, and we will have the hearing. They will discuss with the cleaner again and let me know today. Update. This morning the police called me back to file the police report. The case was sent to 14 Division and has to have a detective assigned to it before they proceed with anything. I'm supposed to call back tomorrow. They indicated they could help obtain security camera footage from the building if needed. Other than that, I don't expect much, as posters here have indicated this is a civil matter. I then called the property manager around 9:00 to get the name of the cleaning company and time of entry. He didn't know the time, so I called the cleaner myself. He apologized for the confusion, said it was a scheduling mistake, and explained how tenants often leave stuff behind that he has to throw out. I told him the value of my belongings and ran him through the list when he questioned me. I told him to contact the property managers as they were meeting this morning, and I expect between the two of them that I will be reimbursed in full. Then I filled out a T2 form and submitted it to the tenant board. It says the reason for the complaint is unlawful entry by the landlord, and proposed remediation is reimbursement for lost or damaged property. I listed everything in detail and wrote out the whole story. The property manager's team had their meeting with legal counsel this morning. During this time, they contacted the cleaner. The cleaner admitted fault to them and offered to settle. The PM called me around noon to tell me this. The position of the property management company at this point is that they have a work order with the cleaner for March 31st, so they have no fault for their entry on the 30th and are not responsible for my lost items. They said the cleaner doesn't make much money and can only afford to pay a reduced amount. I told them that 1. I expect to be paid back for the full replacement cost of my belongings. 2. As far as I'm concerned, the property manager allowed access without permission to a third party without discussing it with me. They are responsible for the unlawful entry and ensuing theft of property. My issue is not just with the cleaner. He said he would call the cleaner again to see if he would pay the full amount. From what I can see in the Ontario Landlord and Tenant Act, there is no provision for a landlord to hand the keys over to a third party without discussing with me first. A question I will be asking a lawyer is if the landlord is supposed to be present to physically unlock the condo. As a tenant, it feels like a violation of my privacy and rights to have an unknown person handed the keys to my property manager at about 6:00 p.m. He says the cleaner is offering $600. I tell him there's no chance I'm accepting anything but the full amount. Again, I reiterate that my issue is more with the management company than it is with the cleaner. He tells me that the cleaner will go through insurance and their attorneys will be real tough with me and expect receipts, etc. He says he was trying to do me a favor negotiating with the cleaner as a middleman. I told him he isn't the middleman. His company is at fault, and I won't be individually battling the cleaner in small claims. I've already filed the T2 with the tenancy board against the property manager, and we will see what they award for damages from that hearing before any other avenues are pursued. Needless to say, this is now out of my wheelhouse as far as who I should go after for what. I think I'm on the right track going to the tenant board with the property manager and not chasing the third-party contractor I personally had no arrangement with. I will be contacting a lawyer tomorrow to make sure I get this moving in the right direction. Any thoughts or comments on whether I'm doing this right or not is appreciated. Final update. I have received some messages from people asking about how this ended, so I'm back with my final update on this thing. This is going to be long. After those threads, I felt like I was probably correct in pursuing the landlord, but the comments were a bit of a mixed bag of advice. As I said I would, I sought counsel here in town. I saw a paralegal that was supposedly in this area of law, referred through the Law Society. What an enormous waste of time. After I explained the entire situation to the paralegal and how I didn't know if I should go after the property manager at the tenant board or the cleaner in small claims, or both in small claims, the guy basically despondently nodded and said, "Yeah, that's a real tough one. What do you want to do?" It was frustrating that a legal professional in Toronto couldn't give me any better direction than Reddit. I left no wiser than I arrived and decided to just go through the process with the LTB and feel it out. It didn't feel worth my time or money to seek additional counsel. There was a preliminary hearing at the LTB in April where the property manager and I were each allowed to give our version of events, attempt mediation, and then the board member would determine if the case would go to a formal hearing. After telling my side of things, the property manager didn't dispute any of the events. The board members said that the cleaner was an agent of the landlord and advised the property manager it would be required to pay any damages to me that may be awarded. This was very good to hear, as it finally confirmed I was correct to go after the property manager and not the cleaner. The property manager was cooperative and was pleasant enough to deal with. The board member asked us if we would attempt a settlement. So far, the cleaner had offered $600. The PM said they would add $400 to that for a total of $1,000. I said I would not take less than the full value of my items listed, because I was confident I could prove their value beyond what they offered at a hearing. No settlement was agreed on. That was unsurprising and made sense to me. Even though the PM was not contesting the events and was likely going to be ruled against in a formal hearing, it was in their interest to make me prove the value of my stuff and get an order from the board for that amount. Then they could use the order to sue the cleaner later. If they settled, it could be difficult. The board member took down a statement of agreed facts to expedite our next hearing, since we didn't disagree on any of it. I'm not going to list them, but the gist of it is that they gave their copy of the key to my apartment to a third party without my consent, and they removed my belongings from my apartment. It was very clear they weren't fighting me on that. The formal public hearing, where the board would determine damages, was a couple months later. I had receipts, mostly PayPal confirmation emails, for about $1,200 worth of my things that were taken. Then I had $400 worth of stuff where I had pictures of me wearing it with identifying brand markings and stuff showing, with printouts from websites where it could be purchased to show the monetary value. Then about $200 worth of stuff where all I had was pictures, because they were irreplaceable items that I paid cash for. I had my girlfriend as a witness to what was taken, and to confirm brands of clothing items. The full value of the items was over $1,800. I was expecting to be awarded $1,200, at least for the items I could prove exactly how much I paid for, which is why I didn't settle for $1,000, but wasn't confident about the rest of it. Before the hearings for the day started, the board member called out our names and said, "Are you sure you can't settle this one with the mediator this morning?" I'm looking at the agreed facts here, and he looked over at the landlord and kind of shrugged as if to say the hearing is a formality at this point. Nonetheless, the landlord wouldn't budge on it, so we waited 4 hours until we were called up for our hearing. After we went through all of the documents item by item, the property manager was given the floor. He tried to dispute the items that did not have receipts, specifically a pair of jeans worth over $300. Yes, seriously. The board member said that it's not a criminal case, and it's not up to me to prove beyond a reasonable doubt every single item I listed, referenced Maldonado Ursus, NBI 1980. The burden of proof I had to meet for a civil matter like this was met through what I had provided. As the PM elected not to bring any experts, witnesses, etc., that could argue against the values I had stated, or to say the items I was wearing in the pictures did not match the products in the evidence I produced, he had no reason not to believe me. The board member said he did not even want to hear from my witness, because the evidence I produced was substantial, and there was no contest from the property manager beyond "it's not a receipt." The board member ruled in my favor for the full amount that we discussed for each item at the hearing, and I received the order stating such a week or so later in the mail. On my way out of the hearing, I asked the landlord what they were going to do. He said they had no interest in fighting it and would be getting the cleaner to pay for it. A week or two later, I received the check in the mail from the cleaner. This was a few months ago now. The check cleared and the matter is resolved. Thanks to everyone that offered their advice and comments in the other threads. Thanks for listening.